The last season, the Charlotte Hornets surprised a lot of people around the NBA, including me, as they finished with 48 wins, and they were really efficient in pretty much all areas of the floor. Both their offensive and defensive ratings were top 10. They were 9th in points per game allowed, and they were 11th in points per game scored. So Steve Clifford's definitely doing a lot of good things for Charlotte. And it makes sense when you look at the roster. Kemba Walker had a bit of a jump last season. He is a bit erratic. He will occasionally take a bad shot, but at the same time, Kemba's ability to play in the pick and roll, play off ball, and play in isolations, it provides a lot of offense for Charlotte and a lot of excitement too, which is good for them. They also acquired Nicolas Batum in the offseason. Batum is one of the more versatile players in the NBA. He can score inside, he can hit a three-pointer, and he's also one of the best perimeter players in the NBA when it comes to both rebounding as well as playmaking. So Batum's real good. He's also a nice defender. He's not a lockdown player, but he's a good enough defensive player. They also acquired Courtney Lee mid-season, who's unfortunately for them not there anymore. He's a nice defender as well as three-point shooter. But also Marvin Williams elevated himself to a Draymond Green style power forward who can defend multiple positions as well as shoot three-pointers for you and be a nice athlete at the 4 spot. And it also should be said that guys like Frank Kaminsky as well as Cody Zeller, they did a nice job at the big man positions. I think a lot of it has to do with Steve Clifford being such a good head coach, disciplining them pretty damn well, and then Al Jefferson gave you some low post scoring off the bench. Now, a big thing they didn't have last season was Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who is one of the best defensive players in the NBA. Very athletic, can jet up and down the floor like a crazy person. Unfortunately, his outside shot has been his problem in the NBA, but MKG definitely makes Charlotte a better team. And also, for what it's worth, granted this is an extremely small sample size, but in the 7 games that MKG played this previous year, he attempted 7 three-pointers, which is a big deal because the most amount of threes he's ever attempted in a season is 9. And he attempted 7 in only 7 games, and he actually made 3 of them. So, who knows, maybe MKG's actually comfortable from outside now, and we saw that, and then unfortunately he got hurt. If he's actually decent from 3, then I think he has all-star potential, to be honest with you, with how good he is at everything else. Now, of course, the Hornets did lose a few impact players this offseason. They did lose Courtney Lee, which is going to suck because they're going to miss his defense and his shooting and his efficiency. They also lost Al Jefferson, who, to be fair, they were moving away from that slower style anyway. He only played about half the season last year. He didn't start that many games, so Al Jefferson was kind of already on the way out, but he still provided them with some low-post scoring. And I think now their starting center is probably between Roy Hibbert, who's kind of fallen off a cliff, if we can be honest, Frank Kaminsky, who has an okay basketball IQ. He shot 34% from 3. He can be an interesting player. And then there's Cody Zeller, who's, I guess, maybe the best of those 3, which isn't really saying much. Their options at center aren't exactly wild, but it's what they have, so they got to pick one of those dudes. The one position they can improve on is definitely the center spot. But 1 through 4, I have to be honest, I really like this team. We got Kemba Walker, who, albeit a little inefficient at times, but a 20-plus scorer in this league. Nicolas Batum's probably your shooting guard, very versatile, nice defensive player. Rebounds, assists, three-point shooting. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, lockdown defender, who could be up for an offensive jump this season. Marvin Williams, who can also defend multiple positions. I think those 3, Batum, MKG, and Marvin Williams, are 3 guys who can switch on help defense and switch on pick and rolls and really make you a quality defensive team. And then for the center spot, I mean, from a defensive standpoint, Roy Hibbert might be the best option there. It'll depend. You know, when he was in Indiana, the reason he was so effective defensively is because the Pacers were able to use their very good perimeter defense to sort of funnel people into the paint directly at Hibbert, where he could just be really freaking big. If Charlotte's able to do that, and they do have some nice defenders, so I wouldn't put it past them, and Steve Clifford's really good, I think they could find some use for Roy Hibbert as a defensive player. Now, the one concern I kind of do have with these guys is outside of Kemba Walker, I don't know how many players on this roster can really get their own shot off. Like, they're going to have to be really precise with cuts and screens and all that sorts of stuff because, like, besides Kemba, Batum, nice player, but you can't just give him the ball and expect him to score. You can't do that with MKG. You can't do that with Marvin Williams. You could do it with Al Jefferson, but he's no longer here. But still, I think this team could be tough to defend because you can run both Kemba Walker and Nicolas Batum in pick and rolls, and both of them can play off ball because they're both good shooters. They could run pick and pops with Marvin Williams and Cody Zeller, and well, maybe not Cody Zeller, but Frank Kaminsky definitely. So I think there's some nice options with this Charlotte team. I think they have potential to still be a nice quality team in the Eastern Conference, creep up on some people like they did this previous year. If they improve at the center spot, I do like this team. And who knows, if MKG is up for an offensive jump and he starts hitting three-pointers and he averages like 17 points per game, then these guys are probably a top 4 seed because MKG is that good when it comes to defense and athleticism that if he just becomes a decent scorer, look out. Now, as far as the second unit is concerned, Marco Bellinelli is definitely going to give you some shooting. I think he'll fit in well with the system that they have because they do have, a decent amount of shooters on this team actually. With Kemba and Batum and Marvin Williams, Marco Bellinelli, there's some guys here. And then between Kaminsky and Zeller, who one of them will probably end up being the starting center, the other one can provide you some nice stuff off the bench. Besides that, we're looking at Spencer Hawes, who's fallen off a cliff. Aaron Harrison hasn't really played in the NBA, but yeah, I think Charlotte's going to be good.